Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Case Study QB, and we are in the Progressive War Room with Kayla, and I'm doing a pop-up, video today. I came across Kayla on Twitter, and the thing that definitely made me want to talk to Kayla is she said she wanted to be a campaign manager, and I was like, wow, that's an interesting person that has a lot of very interesting background. She told me a little bit about how much she's done work with different campaigns. And I said, okay, this is somebody, the point of the Progressive War Room is to demystify working on campaigns, running as a candidate yourself, and also all the different levels of being on a campaign. And to my great surprise, she is a campaign manager right now for someone that she's going to talk to you about. She's the Grassroots. I'll call it Grassroots campaign because they're definitely starting from the very scratch. They don't have a website yet, but this could be something that I'm definitely going to follow the campaign over time so we can see in real time. And this could be a case study of how a grassroots campaign starts from the bottom and works its way up. All right. So Kayla, I'm going to introduce to you. Let me get the description. Kayla has worked on 15 campaigns in the field and trained with Justice Democrats' sister organization, Movement School. She has also done endorsement applications for candidates and knows the basic for digital and fundraising. Most importantly, she has been doing grassroots local community organizing nonstop for 3 years. Kayla, please say hi to the people.
Hello. Yeah, I love digital and fundraising, but my passion is really with communications. I'm a writer, like I like write poetry. I'm just like a regular person. And yeah, like I love communications, branding, and working on campaigns.
Awesome. It's so great to talk to you. And I definitely talked to her just to give us all the nitty gritty. This show is about getting to the down and dirty into what goes on in a campaign, what makes it flourish. So the first question, how did you get into campaigns? What was your first campaign?
Yeah, I actually worked on a local campaign for Orange County Board of Supervisors. So Board of Supervisors, for people who don't know, are pretty much like city county or city council, but for the entire county. And they oversee a lot of things like public. They appoint people to public health departments. They help to manage the OC sheriff's or sheriff's department budget, and a whole bunch of other things.
Nice. Okay.
So I was on my friend's. My friend was the campaign manager, and he just wanted some help for a retired firefighter who was progressive on housing justice. This came off of a housing justice thing that we organized through our college together. And yeah, it just became a campaign, and I realized how much fun I had on them, and I decided to do it right after graduating.
Wow. So what year was that again?
I actually I graduated 2018.
2018. That first campaign was in 2018. So you said you did 15 campaigns between 2018 and to now, pretty much. So different levels of tell me about the veracity of levels that you campaigns you worked on.
Yeah, so that was my first campaign, a board of supervisors.
Okay.
Then I went back home after break because I was still in college then. And I went to I'm from Honolulu, Hawaii. So I helped out with someone who was running for State House, I believe, for a little bit back home. Then I came back and I did 2 board of supervisors campaigns, city council,
Nice.
school board.
Wow.
Then a bunch of ones for Congress, U.S. Senate, and president.
Wow, that's awesome. So at what levels are the different levels that you did at? So there's, of course, the volunteer, the bottom of the person that's just knocking. And I don't want to say that as a derogatory way, but you know, you have to have the grunt work of people knocking on doors, giving out flyers, and then you have the campaign manager, which you are now for this latest person that you're working with, which we're going to get into shortly. So, what levels of campaigns did you work at?
Yeah, so I have worked I volunteered on a lot of campaigns, doing the door knocking, or talking to people, phone banks, with the whole digital and COVID age and everything. I have done, um, field organizing for a presidential campaign.
Mm-hmm.
I have done paid canvassing for various campaigns, super volunteer endorsement applications, a few like op-ed writing, and some strategy things, coalition building. And then I just asked my friend if he needed a campaign manager, and he said yeah, and that fit perfectly for me because I had done a lot of work in communicate, or a lot of classes in communications. I wanted to apply them. I did like a lot of grassroots nonprofit organizing and strategizing. Between he and I, like, we know the county and the activist sphere very, very, very well. Like, we're friends with most of the people who do the activism and organizing. So yeah, like, I've always liked coalition building, messaging, and knowing some of the basics for every other sphere, and having connections to plug in other people. It just fit perfectly.
So let's talk about strategy. You say you did some strategy work. I love talking strategy here. Tell me a little bit more about that.
About strategy work in general, or for this campaign specifically?
I like to get real world, as much as we can, without, if there's like secrets that you can't definitely not tell, that's fine. But like, you know, yeah, definitely as much real world as we can get.
Yeah. So the way that I typically approach strategy is there's street sweeping right now. At the end of the day, the only people that really matter are your voters.
Okay.
Your constituents, like, that's how you get elected.
Yeah.
A lot of the people outside of your district, be it like outside of your congressional districts, city council, school board, whatever, like Senate, president, or not president, but Congress, like the people who come from outside of the district are very, very, very helpful and influential, but they're not voting for you. They are helping with volunteering, they're helping with donations, they're helping with all these other things that are incredibly crucial to the back end of a campaign. But in regards to the voters, it's really important to have that presence in your community, to have those relationships with people who are visible, be it like nonprofit leaders, grassroots leaders, people who are just very friendly in the community. And like building those relationships, building those coalitions, and finding out how best to utilize them.
Oh, okay. Okay. So let's put this in real world terms with your candidate that you're working on right now. And I say grassroots campaign because definitely we're at the part I don't even know if you raised money yet. I mean, you have to get the website going, and then you have to go to, I'm sure you're going to get an Act Blue site, you know, so that people could donate. Yeah. So tell me about your campaign that you're working on right now.
Yeah, so we actually do have an Act Blue account set up. Cool. I think we've raised $500 by now.
I stayed corrected. Go ahead. Nice.
Yeah, so like we don't have a website yet, but that isn't because like we don't think that we need to have one. We definitely think that we need to have one at this point in the campaign. Like, we're going to launch in like a few weeks.
Okay.
But like, it would be nice to have it. It's just a matter of like sitting down and saying like, okay, let's write out the about me section. Let's write down the
Mm-hmm.
issues section. Let's write down the about the district section. Let's write down all of those things.
So let me ask you this
Um,
question real quick. So is that something that literally the team right now is you? And what's the name of the person? Let's give them a shout out. I don't even know if you have the Act Blue in front of them, but let's give that person some love. Go ahead.
yeah, his name is Justin Sampson. He is a Medicare for All activist, a housing justice activist, and he does these things because they're very, very, very personal to him. He's lost his mother to end-stage breast cancer and was her caregiver for 3 years before she passed. He has a disability. His siblings work in healthcare. If you like know anything about medical bankruptcy and the biggest causes of homelessness being medical bankruptcies, he had struggles with like housing, being on the Section 8 housing wait list because of the diagnosis. And then in Orange County, California, where we live, there is a pretty substantial homelessness population. And around the time that he lost his mother and decided to run for state senate, he toured the one of the biggest encampments and communities in the entire county, and saw people like working at Disneyland, saw people working but like not having a home, and like meeting a lot of those people. So like really struck a chord in him, thinking like, this could have been me, this could have been my family. So like housing and healthcare are very, very, very important to him. You also asked about, what else did you ask about?
Yeah, so I forgot now to myself, but yeah, let's continue. So with the I was curious. Oh, what other teams? That's the question I have. Is it just you, or do you have anyone else on the executive team of this campaign this campaign, or what?
Yeah, so we currently have me, someone named Paul Horner, I believe. He is helping us with fundraising, and we have someone that we talk to about digital stuff and message testing. Phoebe Galago, I believe her last name is. But anyway, like Paul and Phoebe are other people who help out on the campaign. We might have an advisor on as well, or consultant. I don't remember what we decided on for her title.
Yeah.
And we also have a deputy campaign manager in mind, who is a local leader that endorsed us. And we are reaching out to a few people for field and communications.
Okay, cool. So that message tester, that's very interesting. What do that person? I mean, it sounds like I could think of what it is, but can you break down like what does that person do exactly?
Yeah, so we meet with her every 2 weeks, and we just talk about like messaging on digital platforms. We talk about testing language for the campaign. So like we know what the values are going to be. We know what kind of things we stand for. It's just a matter of how we frame them. So something that we are going to be trying in some house parties that we are doing is calling people to action by talking about the district versus talking about himself, and seeing like which one encourages and inspires people better. Other things that we might try out is things about like healthcare. Do we talk about it in terms of like personal story, or do we talk about it in terms of like broad statistics? Do we talk about things in like that more vulnerable, highly personalized level, and do that like that deep canvassing, getting people to talk about their own stories, or do we want to just like talk about the issues? Just seeing which ones kind of work best with the voters, and then doing like A/B messaging testing on digital platforms like Facebook, email, social media, and just seeing like what message, what kind of messaging and framing works better with like national audiences, and like targeted audiences for the district.
Wow. So is this something that you learned from being in movement school, which is where we're going to get into that subject. But like, what made you think about? Because this is very technical stuff, and I'll be honest, I was very interested in this because of personal reasons. Like, I'm really curious about this stuff. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So I've known from, because I did like a bunch of communications courses at movement school,
Okay.
and we talked about like different tools and tactics to use, and then we talked about like messaging testing like very briefly in each case. So when we were reaching out and saying like we would need a finance director, and like someone to help out with that for movement school, Phoebe actually said, I don't do finance, but I do digital and volunteer management. So we said like, great, that's also something that we need. So then we started talking, we talked about like message testing. And then I said like, I don't actually know what exactly that looks like. Can we talk about that and map it out a little bit?
Okay.
So we started talking about message testing, like testing this on this day, testing this on another day, like, so we can try to do that quantitative or like the social science analyses and whatnot of like what tests better, what works better, things like that. And then we just began talking a lot more. I'm a messaging person myself. I'm really into communications and framing things. So I just began thinking about like, what if we try things this way? What if we try things that way?
So how do you develop a message? Yeah, if like, do you go out in the district and knock on doors first, get those get a feel for the district, and then find out what it is like? So, for example, you could say, I don't know about your particular district, but you could say, hey, there's a asphalt factory nearby that's been pumping smog into the air for generations, and you say, okay, wow, this is a thing. Let me put that in my message. Is that how it works? Like, how do you find that message?
Yeah, so we are in the very, very early stages of it. But like Justin has been, like Justin ran for state senate before in 2018. So he does have that canvassing knowledge of like, okay, cool. Yeah. Just as I thought, healthcare is very important to this district. Living wage is very important to this district. Housing is very important to this district. Having like so many friends who are activists doing electoral C3, C4 nonprofit work in the county and in the district. I'm saying like, yeah, like education is really big in this district. This is really big in the district, which are all things that we kind of guess, but like, it's nice to know what like 3 or 4 issues are like front and center for people. So having a basic idea of that going in, but really something that I think is really beneficial for Justin in particular is his story, like why he cares about Medicare for all, why he cares about housing. So just working with him to develop those stories, to develop those narratives, why these things are important, how they are impactful, and deciding how to frame the campaign around it. So I'll just give like a little bit of a sneak peek. So Justin's story is that he is the son of a single working immigrant mother. And she like worked at, he's Filipino. So hate playing into like the stereotypes, but like his mom worked in the care industry. And then she got her citizenship. She began working at the post office. And then she got an early disability retirement because she got cancer in 2008. And then that put them on the Section 8 housing wait list. It put all of their future plans on hold. So when Justin graduated from college in 2014, and when things started to get worse for his mom, um, he decided that he was not going to go to graduate school. He was going to stay home and take care of his mom. He has a disability, so he was just going to be her caregiver. So like the psychology and impacts that had on him, seeing like that situation change, and then having a disability, and that relationship with the healthcare system, and then helping to care for his mom for 3 years for end-stage breast cancer, seeing her cry over the bills, deciding between going to the doctor and paying rent, chemotherapy, and groceries, like all of that kind of stuff. Saying like, oh, well, I love to start this, but like I need to wait for the insurance to kick in. Just seeing all of those things firsthand is a really, really powerful story in regards to healthcare and housing too, honestly. So working on that messaging with him to talk about like, to put all the pieces together so that it comes to that story. So instead of just him saying like, well, I did this and this and this, and then like in different group of people, he talks about like this and this and this. So just talking about how all those things fit together. We have a huge homelessness population in Orange County and this congressional district specifically. So when his mom passed away in 2017, also 2017, like that's the year after Bernie Sanders did not get the presidential Democratic nomination for 2016. On a platform of Medicare for All, he decided to do something about it. And instead of being like just incredibly feeling helpless and frustrated, he decided to run for something, become a Medicare for All activist. And then he toured the largest homelessness community and encampment in the district and saw how many people like worked at Disneyland, how many people had jobs and like had to go to work, but they lived in tents on a riverbed.
Wow.
And then it was being evicted by the sheriff's department and local police departments.
Wow.
And seeing how, like, I don't know about you, but I don't really trust a sheriff's department or a police department to do anything, much less take care of someone who is homeless.
Exactly.
They oftentimes throw away their belongings, including like their social security card, their birth certificate kind of stuff, things that you need for a job.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So a lot of those kind of things, and him just realizing that could have been me on the riverbed. That could have been me in this community because of that hit that his mom took to put him on the Section 8 housing wait list. And how many people are homeless in this country because of medical bankruptcy? So his story is very, very personal to him. Like that's why he cares about like Medicare for All. That's why he cares about housing justice, because these are very personal. These are very intimate stories to him. These are very like, unfortunately, universal stories for this congressional district. And these are just things that people live with. So saying like, maybe you don't know, maybe you aren't homeless, but like, you know what it's like to be on the verge. You know what it's like to live paycheck to paycheck. You know what it's like to be one medical emergency away from any of this. Maybe you know what it's like to have asthma and just ration your medication, to be diabetic, to do any of this kind of stuff. So we decided to utilize that kind of messaging from a very personal standpoint, because the incumbent does not represent this district very well, but he does a lot of work to be in the district. So he is very favorable. Like he's a blue dog Democrat. He advised again, like I believe today he even spoke out against the expelling of the person from Iowa's 2nd or 3rd district from the House of Representatives because
Okay.
that race was decided by 6 votes out of like
Okay.
39,000 or 390,000.
Mm.
He has written a letter to President Biden about, I know that we're in a pandemic and an economic recession right now, but don't do any economic spending outside of what you need to.
Wow.
Because we need to worry about the national debt.
Wow.
Like that's the kind of person he is.
Wow.
He is a millionaire, a real estate investor. A real estate investor and an investment banker.
Okay.
Like those are his professions. In a district that is extraordinarily working class, extraordinarily immigrant. But he is still well loved because he does a lot of constituent services in the district.
So this is a plus blue district?
Plus 15.
Plus 15.
On the PDI
wow.
index.
Wow.
Yeah.
So whoever wins the primary is basically the Democrat, is the nominee, is going to win.
Yes and no. So that would be the case if we were in any state other than Louisiana, California, or Washington, but we have jungle primary systems
That's
here.
right. Okay. Because so it goes into a runoff and then the top 2 could be Democrats. They could both be Democrats. Okay, that's interesting. But you said it's a working district, working families district, so hopefully there's a real chance. So, okay, thank you for that. So let's talk about your experience filling out vetting forms for candidates. I'm very interested in that because I have a vetting idea that I'm going to throw at you in a moment, but go ahead and tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so typically, the campaigns that I've worked on or volunteered on have been like ethnic studies activists, have been people who want to create solutions to homelessness, managed by people who like are my close friends and homelessness activists. These are the kinds of people that I've worked on, volunteered on, outside of like the one candidate for president. But I know that his heart is in the right place. He wasn't my first pick, but he was someone who got back to me first. He also paid the best, and yeah, it just worked out really well for me.
Talk about Tom Steyer. I think we talked about that earlier, right? There you go.
Yeah, yeah. Tom Steyer, Bernie person through and through, but like worked on Tom Steyer because he got back to me first. He paid better, and it was less work.
Okay. Not me, us. Really, yeah. Kayla, not me, us. What happened? No, I'm just playing. I'm just playing. But go ahead.
Like
go ahead.
Whenever I talk to people, like I feel bad about this for the campaign, but like, what you gonna do? He was going to like Bernie Sanders was going to sweep California anyway. So whenever like someone said like, oh yeah, I'm thinking about voting for Bernie, like cool, we don't need to have a discussion. If they said like, oh, I'm thinking about Joe Biden, I'm like, okay, so let's go into it. Let's get into why you believe this way, why you think that, yada yada yada.
Gotcha. But about the vetting, I'm very curious about when, let's say I'm a candidate. I'm a candidate. I want the endorsement of Sunrise Movement or Justice Democrat. Like you have a lot more experience. 'Cause I've never filled out a vetting form. How does a vetting form look like? What's the complications of it? Have you ever won? Has your form that you've handed in for a candidate won an endorsement? Like, yeah, give me some of that background.
Yeah. So campaign endorsement forms are actually pretty easy. It's really weird because like it's just checking a few boxes, applying in general, because a lot of times candidates don't end up applying, which is why they don't end up with various endorsements. It's like that whole system of orgs like Sunrise, DSA, Justice Democrats, all of them thinking like a lot of times they're not going to go into a community and say, hey, you should run. Like they're going to leave it up to the community.
Yeah.
So that there are those nomination forms. There are those forms from like Planned Parenthood about like what kind of things do you believe in, but it's mostly like checking boxes and then like answering like a question here or there.
Okay.
So something like Sunrise might be, or Justice Democrats might be like, why does this district need a Justice Democrat? What's wrong with the incumbent? Just like answering those questions, free form. Tell me a bit more about your candidate. So just like 3 or 4 questions like that, really. For something like Planned Parenthood, it is just like checking a bunch of questions, filling out like contact info and stuff, and then like 1 or 2 like short answer questions like that too. So those are a lot of those endorsement forms for candidates, be it like Sunrise, Justice Democrats, Brand New Congress, Working Families Party, Warren Democrats, Progressive Change Campaign Committee, all of them, or like Planned Parenthood.
Okay. So you said it's not hard, but have you won has any of your candidates won the endorsement of a form that you filled out?
We have won the endorsement of like 1 or 2 things. I don't remember which ones they were though.
And that's in the past campaign, not the current campaign, right? Okay.
Yeah. Because like we are going to launch in like 6 weeks.
Okay.
But like we haven't filled out as many of those like endorsement forms. We've gotten a lot of endorsements from like local leaders in the district.
Okay, and that's probably off of the fact that he ran for state senator of California, right?
Yeah, so like running for state senator in the primary, getting 14,000 votes on a budget of $5,000.
Wow. That's really good.
But also just like we're friends with a lot of these people, saying like, hey, we would like to set up a meeting with you. We would like to say like why we're running, why we are seeking your endorsement, and just like talk about the issues that are important to you. And then like ask like, can we count on your endorsement? Then most of the time people say yes.
Nice. Are you going to try to court the endorsement of a Sunrise Movement, Justice Democrats, DSA?
Oh, absolutely. Right now we are focusing on like some more of the local ones, like the local leaders, because we don't need to like have a website, a strong social media presence and all that for those endorsements. Yeah. Whereas like with Sunrise, Justice Democrats, like all of those, it helps to have like the website up. It helps to have like the Twitter profile up. It helps to have like the Facebook profile up and everything.
Okay.
Because we're like 5-6 weeks away from launch, those haven't been as prevalent priorities as much as it is like building our base.
Okay.
In our personal campaign plan, we really have like 3 major cities in the district. So like getting like community leaders, activists from each city, setting up those meetings have been like more pressing for us. Setting up those house parties have been a bit more pressing for us, but like definitely need to do the social media, definitely need to do the websites, so that we can apply for those Sunrise, Justice Dems, Working Families Party, all those endorsements.
Yeah. Do you have a digital person that would be focusing on that, or is that your job? Like, would you take on that responsibility if there's nobody doing it right now on the team?
Yeah. So right now, I'm focusing on a lot of that, but I'm also like the communications person, and I like filling out those forms.
Okay.
Yeah, like we haven't created like the super volunteer infrastructure just yet. We are mostly doing like targeted outreach for endorsements as far as volunteer stuff kind of goes. So something as like, I don't want to say like quick and easy because it takes like 30 minutes sometimes for me to fill out an endorsement form. Yeah, like
okay,
I can do that. But like the work of like investing in the community is something that we are searching for more from our endorsees right now.
Yeah, I was curious about that volunteers. So you kind of answered that saying that you don't have the infrastructure for super volunteers just yet. So you're waiting to once the website is created and then you have that, volunteers link. This is how apply to volunteer. That's how you plan to get the bulk of your volunteers and then move on from there. That's the goal.
Yeah. So actually, we are approaching it in a slightly different way than most campaigns. So most campaigns do a lot of the remote volunteers from across the country through like phone banking, text banking, and then like investments in local communities for door knocking and everything.
Okay.
Currently, we don't have the we didn't purchase the lists for the door knocking, text banking, like all that kind of stuff, the software for it.
Okay.
So, but we still want people to be involved. So
Okay.
right now we are focusing on house parties.
Mm.
And it's like, yeah, like talking to some of your friends and family, um, talking about like, well, why do you care about progressive issues? Why do you care about like climate, this and that and this and that and this and that? And
Mm.
then ending with a call to action with us with the donation, volunteer, vote pledge, all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
And then maintaining that relationship with people throughout so that we can do like several things, so that when we knock on their doors or phone bank or text bank them, they'll be like, yeah, I've heard about you. I remember hearing that, stories about you and everything. So you can definitely count on my vote.
Okay.
And they might have been like a lean, oppose before. They might have been like an undecided before, but like because we had those relationships with them, then or like we've had those like face-to-face interactions with them, and then we like knocked on their door or whatever, depending on where we are in COVID.
Okay.
Um, yeah, like having that kind of relationship. Another aspect of that is, of course, like the vote pledge, the volunteer ask, the donation ask, and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
But
Okay.
mostly for now, it is like because of where we are in the campaign, like we want people to be involved. We want them to like be encouraged, and engaged. So this is a way that also keeps them involved. Do that.
Man, Kayla, thank you so much for your time. This was very insightful to me personally, finding out a little bit of your experience with campaigns. And I definitely want to keep in touch with you, and maybe even if you can get in touch with Justin Sampson, you said his name
Mhm.
is right. That hopefully I
Yeah.
can interview him, because for the audience that might have came in late on the video, Kayla is the grassroots campaign manager for Justin Sampson, who's running in California for 2022 for the House, and 2022 is a progressive. And this is literally a case study of how you start a campaign from scratch. And he doesn't have a website yet. They're going to be launching in 6 weeks. Right now, Kayla just talked about how they worked on getting local endorsements. So Justin ran in the past for state senate of the California, so it helps to you kind of have some familiarity with the district already, or with connections with people, and you're able to build on that connection for this house run. So I would love. I can't wait to talk to you again, and hopefully we can continue to track your campaign and see where it goes from here. All right. Do you have any last words?
Yeah, like if you want to check out our donation link, you liked what you heard. It is secure.actblue.com/donate/Justin for Congress.
Okay. Oh, cool. Definitely check that out. And thank you again for coming on the Progressive War Room, where we talk about strategy, we talk about demystifying campaigns, because we want anybody who has the will and whoever's progressive to not think that this is some far off foreign thing that only rich people can do, or that only special people can do. Even if you're not the candidate, you can be like Kayla and be the campaign manager, or you can be the comms person, or you could be the digital person. Any way you can help, play your position, help the grassroots movement, help the progressives move forward. All right, everyone, have a great day.